This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Thursday, September 12th of 2024. We're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, we have a feature of Fractal talking about how they invest alongside farmers to help them maintain or even expand their farms. And we also have some big news from today of the WASDE report. Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net has all of the details there in our closing market analysis. Before we get into any of that, though, let's hear a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soy Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. First up here today, I talk with Ben Gordon. He is founder and CEO of Fractal, an ag investing company that seeks to invest alongside farmers to help them maintain or even grow their farms. We had this conversation at the Farm Progress Show in Boone. And Ben, great to talk with you today. Tell us a little bit about how Fractal is approaching that relationship with the farmer of making sure that they have that investment to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I think just to start, we are an investor that invests alongside farmers versus maybe how sometimes when folks think of investors, they think of that competitor at the auction. That's not our model. We will invest with farmers alongside them, keep them in control. We're passive. And often we're being used by our farmer partners to essentially take advantage of the opportunities that they have to grow and to help invest in their business, where usually equity capital is kind of their constraint. Have great lenders here, especially in Iowa. But sometimes that down payment or that working capital balance is a limitation, and we help with that.
And of course, you know, a big thing with, like you mentioned, expansion of farms, just building up that business, because farming is at the end of the day a business, can be difficult. There can be a lot of competition, like we had talked about before, with other investors in that farmland. But as you mentioned, investing along with the farmer is kind of a common sense approach that maybe you don't see very often.
Which is surprising to those of us that grew up in agriculture. It's you kind of wonder like who's the best steward of the land and who's the person you'd maybe want to make that bet on or make that investment with. It's probably that person who knows the local market, knows the land. So that's our approach. And maybe it's a little too common sense for some, but it's our approach. And so really, you know, we see our job as to partner with that farmer, be that capital source to help them grow just a good, strong, steady business. Doesn't always have to be growth. Sometimes it's, you know, beefing up that balance sheet to go through a downturn like we're in right now. Or making other investments on the farm, whether it's infrastructure or just essentially a lot of farmers have a lot more opportunities than they often have capital.
And it's not just with established farmers as well. If you're a young farmer and, you know, say you don't have that connection in the farming industry, but you want to get in, it can be really hard to, you know, kind of compete and get that head start on the farming industry. So, you know, how are you guys helping those younger farmers as well to make sure that they can get a foothold in there? Because as we know, the farming industry is aging.
Yeah, we're not a silver bullet, so that's the first thing. There's been a lot of folks that have come into agriculture, and luckily our team is from agriculture. But you know, so we're not the solution 100% for that new farmer. It's a really tough go. But we're another tool that's really helpful for either generational transition or that younger farmer that doesn't have quite as much equity or quite as much scale to help take their dollar a little bit further. They still have to have some of that startup capital again, but you know, I think our view is the more transparent we can be, whether it's a large established farm or a new starting farm. If you have good cash flows, good agronomics, we're going to be a good partner for you to help you grow or to help just solidify that operation.
So if I'm a farmer who's wanting to get involved with Fractal and start that process of having that co-investment opportunity, what does that look like from a farmer's point of view?
Yeah, so you can reach out www.fractal.ag, North Dakota accent, so that sometimes gets you. First thing we'll do is we'll just reach out and we'll set up a call and just see if we're a fit. Explain the product, but really explore the need and make sure that something like us is a better option or a complementary option to your bank, because we don't want to do a deal that's not a good deal for a farmer. That'll destroy our brand, and 10 years down the line, you're not going to like that. We decided it's a good fit. We're going to give you the whole deal. We'll show you the spreadsheet that we show to the investors. We'll plug in your local market. You'll see how those cash flows fit. Make sure that that's a good fit for you. And once you're ready to go there, we're going to pick a field or 3 or 5 that you think would be a good opportunity for Fractal. We're going to get you a valuation. We're going to show you how we got to that valuation, because sometimes you're going to catch an error on our side. And this is the whole idea of having that farmer on the same team with you, is they know that local market. You kind of get to that valuation together as long as you can prove it. And then we make that investment. That investor's locked in for 10 years. You're going to pay an annual payment that's a lot cheaper from a cash perspective than debt. Lower rate and no amortization. And then at the end of 10 years, hopefully we can earn that right to renew with you, and you do a whole another 10 years, or you buy us out at that time.
All right, Ben, lots of great information. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit, and enjoy the rest of the Farm Progress Show.
Thanks, Riley.
That again was Ben Gordon, CEO and founder of Fractal. And that's all we'll have for the news segment for today, but we will as well, like I said earlier, talk with Robin Schmahl for an extended conversation on what we saw in the WASDE report today.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, we're here with Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Robin, today obviously being a WASDE report day, so what do we see in those grain markets?
Well, we saw a little bit of ups and downs, I would say. After the report came out, corn prices futures fell about 7 cents, and soybeans, they kind of had a back and forth movement there for a little bit, but ultimately in the end, corn has come back to positive, and just slightly positive, and soybeans showing more strength, up double digits. So the market digested the report a little bit. Now, one thing to make note again is that both the corn and soybean yield per acre is a record yield per acre. Corn at 183.6 is what they're projecting. It's up a half a bushel per acre from their previous estimate. We're looking at 82.7 million acres harvested. That was unchanged from last time. The yield was raised that from the previous month. Now, analysts were expecting a yield of 182.4 bushels to the acre, so exceeded those estimates. And I think that's probably what had put initially the pressure onto that market. I mean, when you're looking at a large yield like that, and if you think back through the summer, there was a lot of concern for a while there on how that crop was going to be planted, how it was going to develop. And just like the previous year, and now we're looking at a possible record yield. If once the combines get rolling, we'll find out for sure. But it varies across the country every year to some extent. So, but the genetics that we have in corn and soybeans has just increased dramatically over the years. Now, production for corn is at 15.186 billion bushels. That was above the analyst expectations of 15,076. So ending stocks were reduced slightly to 2.057 billion bushels from what their previous was, and that was a little bit higher than the trade expected. So we did have this back and forth in the corn market. On the soybeans, the yield at 53.2 was right where the analysts had expected, looking at 86.3 harvested acres, though that's just slightly higher than what the analysts had expected. Now, USD did reduce ending stocks by 10 million bushels, so now we're looking at 550 million bushels, provided some of that support in there. And I think the yield being unchanged provided more support as well. World stocks were increased slightly on the soybeans. On the corn, they were slightly reduced. And then when we went to the wheat side, ending stocks there were 528 million. That was unchanged from last month and where the analysts had expected it. So we look at this report, kind of, if you could say, a ho-hum report, neutral report, I guess. They do trade it according to the estimates, but there wasn't a whole lot of change there. But, in this volatility we've been seeing this year, traders are really focused on any kind of a change, and that's what we saw today as we saw the fluctuations during the day.
All right, Robin, and then even with the focus on the grains today for the WASDE, how do we see the livestock, specifically the cattle and hogs trade?
Well, livestock, the cattle actually moved higher. They put in some nice gains today, triple-digit gains. A little surprising because we had a handful of cattle traded yesterday in the south $1 lower. So generally that sets the stage for the week, but it really didn't have a whole lot of impact on the trade today. We didn't see any added trades so far. I think we'll probably end up seeing a $1 lower trade maybe in both the north and the south when it's all said and done. We probably will see some more sales step up later today. But that was what we saw as far as the cash was concerned. So that really doesn't provide a whole lot of support to an upside price movement. However, the trade seemed to anticipate, well, if we only see $1 lower, we may need to close that gap a little bit. And, some of the buyers were just interested in getting into that market on the what if. Now, sales today on the weekly export sales weren't all that great, 11,400 metric ton. That was down 31% from last week. So that didn't really help a whole lot. Mexico and Japan were the largest buyers. Colombia was number 3. On the WASDE report, we had some mixed news there for the beef complex. The beef production for this year was rated 59 million pounds. From the previous estimate. Third quarter steer prices are averaging $188. It was up $5 from last report. Quarter 4, 183. I'm sorry, 188 down $5 from the previous WASDE report. Not up, down $5. The fourth quarter at 183 down $7 from the previous estimate. Quarter 1 for next year at 186 average, down $3 from the previous, and quarter 2 at 196 down $4 from the previous estimate that USDA had put out on the WASDE report. So that was not good news, but the production increased, and that's because chain speeds have picked up a little bit. But prices not performing quite as well.
All right, Robin, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to our website, agmarket.net. There's a toll-free 844 number there that you can pick up the phone, and somebody will be willing and able to answer your questions on the other side.
All right. Thanks again, Robin, for the analysis as always, and we look forward to visiting again soon.
All right. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
That again was Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers closed through the market window at iowaagnet.com. At the close, December corn up 1 1/4 at 4.06 even. November soybeans up 10 1/4 at 10.10 3/4. October soybean meal up 2.90 at 3.18.90. Soybean oil up 55 cents at 40.33. Chicago wheat down 3/4 cent at 5.78 1/2. Kansas City hard red wheat down 2 even at 5.86 1/4. Minneapolis spring wheat up 5 1/4 at 6.21 3/4. December oats up 7 1/2 at 3.75 1/2. On the Merc, October live cattle up $1.07 at 178.02. September feeders up $1.50 at 242.05. October lean hogs down 85 cents at 78.90. October pork cutout went unchanged at 91.55. And September class 3 milk up 2 cents at 23.18. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. That also brings us to the end of today's episode. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok. and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM PM on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free morning, midday, and closing market podcasts, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Pods of Potential. You can find all of those on your favorite podcasting service at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.